folks, I'm Dr. Walker.
Hey guys, I'm Arvend.
The reason we are having this discussion is that Arvend and I have very different views on if Macbeth is a tragedy. I will have the more intelligent and calculated answer from hours of research.
Dr. Walker, I'd like to disclose that the language isn't rude or bragged. This is an intelligent conversation about Shakespeare, and because you started this off unprofessionally, I'll start this off correctly. Macbeth is a tragedy in regards to older definitions. For example, classical tragedy is a literary genre invented by the Greeks around the 5th century BCE that told the story of a hero and his subsequent demise. Over time, the definition has changed. The contemporary definition of a tragedy is an event causing great suffering, destruction, and distress, such as a serious accident, crime, or natural catastrophe. This is our modern conception of tragedy. But the worst thing that happens is a few people kill each other and that's it.
Arvend, I understand your opinion. However, the nature of Macbeth is a tragedy on its own, as the country is left in flames after a dictatorial leader that was a grand soldier for the armed forces comes to power by stabbing the one who promoted him in good faith that he would come to the betterment of Cawdor as Thane. Through many sins occurring from murder to lying to false accusation of non-guilty parties, we aren't watching a play about Scotland and how an evil man was overthrown from power. We are rather watching the tearing down of a once stable man that was given a prophecy that he would be king, and seeing how far down he would go before his sword slit his own throat.
Thank you for that nice short summary of Macbeth, but there's a certain number of flaws to the story you told of Macbeth. I personally believe that the people in the audience might also agree that Macbeth isn't quite such a tragedy because of the orchestrated prophecy. For me, for it to be a tragedy, it is supposed to be unpredictable, not something that I would have already known from the beginning. For example, if the Twin Towers were already planned in advance, people wouldn't have been so shocked and thought it was a tragedy. Comparing Macbeth to other Shakespeare stories like Romeo and Juliet, which is an example of a real tragedy because the protagonist, the young lovers, are faced with momentous obstacles that result in a horrible fatal conclusion. This is the structure of all Shakespeare's tragedies. Macbeth just doesn't comply with that.
Macbeth is psychologically destroyed by people who are looking for self-benefit. For an example, Satan, Lady Macbeth, and his once trusted followers. His life is being torn in the largest tug-of-war game ever played between his wife Lady Macbeth, the three witches, and the two different sides of him. The second he thinks on his own, trying to come to a sense of his actions, someone comes in and sets him straight to make sure he makes it to the point of no redemption. For example, in Act 1, Scene 7, lines 58 to 78, when Macbeth is questioning if the plot will fail, Lady Macbeth exclaims, "But screw your courage to the sticking place, and will not fail when Duncan is asleep, whereto the rather shall his days hard journey soundly invite him, his two chamberlains, will I with wine and wassail, so convinced that memory, the warder of the brain, shall be a fume, and the receipt of the reason of the limbeck only." Lady Macbeth is doing everything she can to make sure her husband is still on the correct road to kill King Duncan. This manipulation is taking someone who's starting to think about what he is doing and how wrong it is, and twisting him to make him feel like it's his duty to commit the murder. Macbeth is a good person, twisted into a devil and manipulated to cause a massive catastrophe, like killing King Duncan, prosecuting people to hide his involvement in the murder, and much more.
Very well put, Doctor. I can see that where you're coming from. I get an idea, but now I'm in the middle of both sides, yet it still keeps me drawing closer to the fact that Macbeth isn't quite a tragedy. Macbeth is more of a sad story, but not bad enough for it to be considered as a catastrophe or tragedy. Unfortunately, war and overthrowing the noble classes are very common occurrences in the medieval times. Just to list some are the War of Secession and the War of Hum. Ever since humans have been alive, the goal was to throw a rock to become chieftain of the tribe.
Tell me this. You say that wars happen so often, and that makes it not a tragedy. But you forget to realise that every war is a tragedy. No matter how much they occur, innocent lives lost are tragedies. Those brave men could have saved generations with their ideas and what they could have contributed to society. How was Macbeth different? A noble soldier who could have led Scotland to victory over time and become a very respected person just without stabbing people in the back for personal gain.
Wow, thank you, Doctor. That was inspiring. Just talking about my own opinion, I'm now on your side of the argument. I do strongly agree that Shakespeare's Macbeth is a tragedy now. It is true that you spend many hours of research with intelligent and calculated answers. Thank you.